Recognize myself. Director Vought, last week you sent a supplemental request to Congress requesting $87.6 billion in additional funding for fiscal year 2026. With respect to this committee, $36 million was requested from the Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, and $600 million was requested for GSA, half for elevator-related capital projects, and half for the district's heating and transmission decoupling program, among other things. My question on behalf of the committee is, how was this request developed? How did OMB determine its supplemental priorities vis-a-vis its FY27 budget request? And what changed between May and now that triggered these requests?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for inviting me to testify. We ran a process with the supplemental to try to assess the defense needs in particular that we had with Operation Epic Fury. We also sent out a request for needs, not unlike what we would do for anomalies with a CR request to determine what are the most dire needs. Obviously, needs came back with the State Department with regard to buildings that may need to be repaired from activities overseas, but also in terms of Coast Guard needs, because they are absorbing activities where the DOW would normally have performed those activities, or in the case of GSA, kind of an acute need with the elevators that was needed based on kind of a typical inability to get that much money coming from Congress. So that one might have put forward in the normal appropriations process or our budget cycle, but we wanted to use this as an opportunity. And again, we have not said this is just defense. We wanted to make sure that any needs that we see, we are bringing to you as legitimate, and it has OMB seal of approval. And I appreciate in your testimony, Mr. Chairman, the role that OMB provides for this committee in particular, so that you know when we send something up, we believe it's been pressure tested accordingly.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that, but I noticed that, and we've had hearings on it, that there's a tremendous backlog of maintenance in all the facilities, unfortunately, that we all need to get to. But with that in mind, for fiscal year 2027 budget request, OMB is requesting a 13.3% or $17.1 million increase. This increased funding would support, quote, unavoidable costs and investing in OMB's workforce, among other priorities. Would you explain what those unavoidable costs are and why OMB needs additional funding only to cut staffing levels? And how do you reconcile the statement?
Well, we need OMB's budget to grow, and it's largely been flatlined for a number of years. If you look at GAO's budget, they have about $900 million to our $150 million. They have 3,000 staff that perform the activities that you all feel is vital. We have in the neighborhood of 500 FTEs that largely hasn't grown, even though the federal government has expanded in size. And if you just look at some of the portfolios that people have, they're astronomical. We have tried to change that, but we need more FTEs to do that. OB3, the One Big Beautiful Bill, will help us with additional FTEs. We're going to unfortunately draw down on that to maintain steady state levels, and that's my main concern, Mr. Chairman, is that my hope is that the base level will grow accordingly this year and into the future. But to answer your question, specifically, we have rent costs because we are in the midst of a move and we have to pay rent temporarily in both places. MAX is a computer system that the whole federal government uses, and it constantly needs to be invested in, almost as an IT system. And then the security that is unfortunately a new phenomena for OMB in terms of some of the security threats that I have faced. We are now building that in to account for that cost, because I certainly do not want it to take away from the already smaller appropriation that OMB has historically had as a small agency.
And I think you'll find this committee on a bipartisan basis has been very cognizant of security issues and tried to make all those areas under our jurisdiction whole so they can provide the necessary security for yourself and for the employees and the people who visit. The 27 budget justification cites several new responsibilities that OMB will assume through recently issued executive orders. This includes EO 14215, titled Ensuring Accountability for All Agencies, Protecting America's Bank Against Fraud, Waste, and Abuse, and 14275, Restoring Common Sense to Federal Procurement, and EO 143032, Improving Oversight of Federal Grant Making. I noticed that I'm going to about run out of time, and in order to be fair to everyone, I will now notice my ranking member, Mr. Hoyer, for his 5 minutes.
Well, I would have been interested in the answer to that question.
One of the most revealing moments in this hearing wasn't a dramatic confrontation or a viral soundbite. It was a simple question: what changed between May and now? That question gets to the heart of one of Congress's most important constitutional responsibilities, holding the executive branch accountable for how it plans to spend taxpayer money. Representative Dave Joyce wasn't just asking why the administration submitted another funding request. He was asking something much bigger. If the administration had already presented its budget priorities just a few months earlier, what new developments were significant enough to justify asking Congress for nearly $88 billion more? That's exactly the kind of scrutiny Congress is supposed to apply before approving additional spending.